Are you looking for a way to market your martial arts school in 2024? You're just not sure exactly what to do to bring students in your doors? Let me show you how. Hey everybody, so my name is Jennifer Waters and I actually help martial arts school owners transform their passion into profit. And here is how to market your martial arts school in 2024. The first thing that you want to do is you want to really ramp up your warm traffic. Now, what is warm traffic in particular? That's going to be your referrals. That's going to be having in-house events. That's going to be having any type of traffic source like walk-ins, your website, and just ramping it up even more than what you're currently doing. Now, you might be asking to yourself, how in the world do I ramp up all of these activities? The first thing is, does your current student body, do they even know that you have a referral program? And if the answer is no, they don't know, then your first job is to make sure everybody in your school knows exactly how they can refer someone and get a reward. Now, the next most important thing to keep in mind is that if your website is kind of subpar, that's going to be an easy fix. Can you just get something that simply asks for one thing and one thing only, that people request more information? This is actually one of the #1 mistakes that I see on martial arts school websites, is that it has all this information about your class times, your schedule, your pricing, every single background and historical evidence that you have of being an awesome martial artist, but it doesn't have a simple way for that warm traffic to actually ask you if they can get some more information. So take care of that one little detail, and you're going to start seeing your requests for more information for warm traffic, which is people that are actively searching for what you have to provide. You're going to see that start to skyrocket. Okay, now by this point you might be thinking, well, okay, Jen, I've got that down. We got referrals, we got a website, it's cooking, it's looking awesome. But what about this event stuff you were talking about? Well, the #1 thing that I find is that when you're trying to grow from like 10 students to 20, maybe even trying to get closer to that 100 student mark, well, you got to make sure that you're hosting events on a regular basis. It's very important to feel like you're a big school, even though you're a small school. And when you're a big school, you want to feel like you're a small school. So how do you do that? Now, they may be small in the beginning, and that's okay. You don't have to have all the fancy things right away, but you do need to have some events you're hosting on a regular basis where your current students can invite friends with them. Remember, we're trying to go after warm traffic, people that are either aware of you or they're aware that they want to seek out martial arts, and we're just trying to insert ourselves as the person, the place to go in order to fulfill that desire. So get that warm traffic from the referrals that you are going to receive by hosting internal events that attract new people to come to you. Okay, but what about cold traffic? Like, what about expanding? What about exploding? Well, that's going to take something a little bit different. You see, what you're going to need is you're going to need to get beyond the walls of your school. Now, that means that you've either got to go directly to the people out in the regular world on the streets, and you got to get in front of them, which, by the way, is super effective. If you're not going out to events and collecting information from leads that are at those events, you're missing out on a huge piece of the puzzle. But let's say you don't have the time. Maybe you're working a full-time job and you're trying to make the martial arts school your full-time thing, but you just don't have the time to be going out every single weekend or during the day to do other things because your job in real life takes more priority than trying to build this school right now. Well, if that is the case, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you leverage something else that's going to take more money but less time. So let's dig into that next. So what, my friends, is going to take more money but less time? Well, it's going to be getting into advertising, and advertising online in particularly. So if you don't have any online presence in the form of social media advertising, it's going to get you a lot of traffic. It's actually the same way that some of my clients have just blown up exponentially. Let me give you an example. We had our client Caleb. He started with us and he went from 15 students to 120 students in 8 months. And the majority of how he made that happen was through cold traffic. It was literally getting out into the rest of the world, into the rest of his little small town that he has, and letting them know that he exists and that he is willing and ready to help make a difference in people's lives. And once he got out there in front of everybody else with some very strategic and targeted ads, his school started blowing up. Now let's say maybe you don't have a small school like Caleb. Maybe you are already past 100 students. Well, you could be very much like Brandon. We actually started working with Brandon. He had about 120 students, and he went from making $23,000 in January 2023 to making $70,000 in January of 2024. How did he do it? Cold traffic, not relying on just word of mouth, somebody walking in the door, or somebody seeing his sign on the side of the road. He started relying on getting people that were complete strangers and turning them into students. So what's the very next step that you need to consider? Let's think about it. Okay, so you had this idea. You know you need to work on the warm traffic, but you also need to work on the cold traffic. Well, where do you start? How do you actually start doing this in 2024 to really skyrocket and start getting in a ton of new students? The first thing that I would say is you need to start mapping this thing out. What are you going to take action on in the next 90 days? And if you can only take action on a few things, that's okay. But having some sort of plan rather than no plan at all is how you're going to actually fill your mats. You've got to think about strategically, what can you achieve in the next 90 days? And what are you going to do in month 1, month 2, and month 3 to actually get to that next step and start really filling up your school with new students? So maybe for you, you're just at the beginning of your journey. And if that's the case, what I would recommend is that you start off by hosting an event inside of your school and allowing all of your students to bring a friend with them. Once that friend comes to the event, the thing that you're going to want to make sure that you do is collect their information and ask to set an appointment for your next class that you're having. Make sure that you're having some type of special offer or some type of incentive. If they have no idea of what that next step is or how to go about doing it, it's going to be extremely hard for that person to go,
yeah, I'm ready to get started.
So have something very low barrier, like a free introductory lesson or a free week of classes. And then in that case, you're going to want to make sure they know what to expect on that introductory lesson. Like, are they going to get punched in the nose? Is it going to be a very basic martial arts class? Like, what is happening in that first introductory lesson? And once you've cracked the code on what's happening there, you explain it to the person, they're incentivized to come. You can get them to come in for that lesson and sign them up. Now, will you get 50 students in a month that way? No, but you will start creating a little bit of a snowball that can move into an avalanche. And then finally, if you are trying to create that avalanche effect of new students coming in the door, you've got to get that cold outreach going. You got to get that cold marketing going. And how do you do that? You've got to get online. Now, there's a couple of ways that people tackle this. Some people just try to do it themselves. They try to go in, figure out how to work Facebook and Instagram ads. And yeah, you can definitely do that. The challenge is that most people that are trying to grow their martial arts schools aren't doing it full-time already. They have a full-time job in the real world, and then they're trying to grow their school from part-time to full-time to replace their full-time job. And maybe that's you. Maybe that's where you're at right now. If you're also trying to add on Facebook and Instagram ads right now or anything like that on the social media platforms, you're going to find some difficulty in actually measuring the progress of those ads and knowing what exactly you should be doing to generate leads. This is where I find most people can't handle doing both. Now, other people, what they'll do instead is they'll try and find some of these like pop-up martial arts marketing agencies that maybe they had a school, maybe it was like, 100 students, maybe 200 students, but they really have no idea what it takes to run a martial arts school at a 7-year-old. That's what we actually do. Like, this is my actual school right here that you've been running around with me in. And the thing is that when you have somebody who has expertise in not only how to run a martial arts school, but how to generate leads coming into that martial arts school, there's a huge difference in the perspective that that person or that company has versus somebody who just decided out of the blue that they wanted to target martial arts school owners because they could swindle them into advertising. And that's a huge difference. So whoever you choose in this process, make sure that they have credentials that back up where you want to go with your school, not just that they're a fancy advertising agency. So if you are looking to be able to really grow your school in 2024, get on top of finding those warm traffic sources and those cold traffic sources, mix them together and prepare for an explosion. And if you like this content, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.